but I remember I had just finished my internal medicine residency at Overlook Hospital. And I felt the need to start a social group. I had just settled down. We bought a house in Summit. We chose to live in Summit. We had our kids here. And a couple years later, I said, you know what, let me be bold and let me just invite my friends over. So I invited a group of friends over. And the premise was to discuss a topic over breakfast. And once a month, you took turns hosting. So that day, I remember it was in my house. And the topic was, what makes your day? And this was a group of women, maybe in their early 30s, mid-30s, late 30s. Someone said, when I read a good book, that makes my day. And another woman said, when I make something nice for the family and everyone appreciates it, that makes my day. And this woman got up and simply said, when I have a good bowel movement, that makes my day. Now I have to tell you that there was so much truth in that statement. Over the subsequent so many years, I've had so many of my patients tell me, Dr. K, just tell me how to have a good bowel movement. That's all I need. So I'm here today, and a large part of what I'm going to talk about is really how to have a good bowel movement. But of course, that's not all. So a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Kewalramani, and it's a very long last name, so they call me Dr. K. Feel free to do that. For 20 years, I've worked on both sides of healthcare, the clinical side as well as the administrative side. And about a year and a half ago, I told my family, I said, I finally have grown up and I finally know what I want to do in life. And so I made an office. My office is very unique. And please, everyone is invited to come and see it. There's a kitchen, there's a meditation room. And I said, I want to practice medicine the way I think it should be practiced. Now, for years, I had been giving my patients medications. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it wasn't working. And I said, there's something I'm missing here. So I call it the trilogy of my practice. The first part is primary care that I introduced a few months ago. I see anyone 18 and above, and I accept most insurances. The second part is my weight loss program that I will be launching on Thursday. And the third part is my lifestyle management program. So essentially, it's a wellness center. And please do stop by, come experience wellness at my center. Let me start with the topic for today. The 3 ADLs to wellness. Does anyone know what an ADL is?
Activities of daily living.
Okay, good, very good. And what is an activity of daily living? These are self-care activities that you don't really think about when you do them. You just do them because they have to be done. For instance, you eat, you groom, you take a shower, you just do them. And at the end of this talk, I want to introduce 3 ADLs to your routine so that when you leave from here, you can just incorporate that in your lifestyle. Without having to think about it, I hope you can do the 3 things that I advise you to do. So the first is A, physical activity. The most important thing about physical activity is first, you have to get up and move, not being sedentary. They've done a lot of studies and they have linked sedentary behavior to reduced lifespan. So those, clearly with technology and sitting in front of the computer, I could easily sit in front of the computer doing patient notes for 3 hours or so. So they want you to get up every hour and walk around for 5 to 10 minutes. And then sit down and watch TV or do your work on the computer. Another hour, walk around for 5 minutes. And that is the most important take-home message about physical activity today. Of course, the other part, and I can't miss that, is to do exercise. So the American Heart Association recommends 30 minutes of moderate exercise 5 to 6 times a week, or 20 minutes of vigorous exercise 3 times a week. Now, what is moderate, what is vigorous? It's simple. If you're a little flushed but not short of breath, that's moderate activity. You walk at 3.2 miles an hour, that's moderate activity. You play doubles in tennis, that's moderate. And vigorous is when you play singles or you run and you get flushed, you get sweaty, and you get short of breath. So these are the recommendations of the American Heart Association. Clearly, we all know the benefits of physical activity are many. It helps you breathe better, it helps your heart to pump blood better, it strengthens your bones and your muscles, and it even gives more oxygen to the brain, it improves memory. So I do recommend that you do two things. One, that you don't sit for long hours. Every time you sit for an hour, you get up, you walk around for 5 to 10 minutes. And you try to incorporate regular exercise into your routine. The second part of today's talk is about nutrition. And what I have here is a very simple concept. So every 5 years, the United States Department of Agriculture and Health and Human Services introduce what are called nutritional guidelines for all Americans. We transitioned, if you recall, it used to be a pyramid. We transitioned from the pyramid to a plate. And I like the plate because it's very visual and it's very simple. So the plate essentially tells you that half your plate has to be very colorful. And where does that color come from? It comes from fruits and vegetables. A quarter of your plate should have lean protein, and a quarter of it should have grains, mostly whole grains, and we'll delve deeper and find out why. And then there's this part called for dairy, okay? And dairy, they recommend skim milk or 1% milk. Clearly, there are some who don't want to have dairy, who don't want to have milk. If you want to have almond milk or soy milk, that's fine, because most of it is fortified with calcium, and calcium, as you know, is very essential. So the two biggest things about the plate are, number one, how much food should you put on the plate, right? Because you could have a tray and say, hey, this is my plate, this is what I'm going to eat. Or you may just put a heap full of food there and say, this is my plate, I'm eating healthy. And that's not healthy. So the first most important thing is for you to find out what your daily caloric intake is. So remember, the apps out there are many. There's MyFitnessPal, there's Choose My Plate. You put in your weight, your height, your activity level, you get your daily caloric intake, and then you divide that into the meals that you eat. So if you eat 3 meals, for instance, you would divide that into 3 meals. The second most important thing is, please start your day with a good breakfast. I cannot tell you the benefits that a good breakfast gives you. Just starting your day, if you don't eat breakfast, then you tend to eat too much at lunchtime. You're very lethargic in the morning, you're not as active. So eat a good breakfast. And I've got you a sample of a good breakfast. This is half a bowl of blueberries, half a boiled egg. You can eat 1 boiled egg, that's fine too. Half for a small bowl of oatmeal, and a slice of avocado. Avocado for breakfast? Well, you can have it for breakfast. So, and then if you want to, maybe 11 or so, eat a snack. And what is a snack? A snack is a handful of almonds, which is excellent food. So this would be a good breakfast. So let's talk about fruits and vegetables and fiber. Fiber is that part of the food that is not absorbed by the body. There's soluble fiber, insoluble fiber. Soluble that dissolves in water, insoluble that does not. So your soluble fiber is your oatmeal. Remember, every fruit and vegetable can have a combination of the two. And grains also have a lot of fiber. So your soluble fiber is oatmeal. And what does a soluble fiber do? It stays in the stomach longer. So it gives you a sense of satiety. And it prevents your bad cholesterol from being absorbed. So oatmeal, and that's why they have the oatmeal and oat cereal and so on, to help you lower your cholesterol. Soluble fiber, on the other hand, makes you go. So it helps prevent constipation, it helps you have a good bowel movement. And again, most fruits and vegetables, whole grain is insoluble fiber. So fiber is very essential, and I would advise you to make sure you have your vegetables and fruits, your oatmeal, your grain, most meals during the day. The next part is your lean protein. So a piece of chicken would be good. Now, why is protein so important? Protein is important, it gives you your energy, it gives you good muscle strength, and it also gives you a sense of satiety. If you don't have protein in your meal, you metabolize that meal very quickly, and before you know it, you're hungry again. So the protein gives you a sense of satiety. So protein is essential. Now the one protein that I really, really like, and thumbs up for that, is salmon. Omega-3. Salmon has a lot of omega-3, fatty fish. And what does omega-3 do? Omega-3, it helps with cardiac arrhythmias. It lowers your triglycerides. If you have heart disease, it decreases the size of your plaque. It's very good for mood disorders and depression. They're still sort of finalizing studies on that, but they say, it is good. And just good food to have. So most fatty fish have omega-3. And these studies that show the benefits of omega-3 were done on two types of omega-3 fatty acids, EP and DHA, that are mostly found in fatty fish. Clearly you can get omega-3 from flaxseed, walnuts, for the vegetarians here. But these studies were done on the omega-3 that is present in fish. So if the vegetarians want to take a supplement, it's your decision, your conversation with your doctor. But omega-3, an absolute thumbs up for omega-3. Then we go to whole grain. So why is whole grain important? Every grain is made up of a bran, germ, and endosperm. The bran and germ have your vitamin B, your iron, and your fiber. Now guess what happens when you mill the germ? You remove the bran and germ. When you mill the grain, you remove the bran and germ, and you're left with the endosperm. There's no iron, there's no vitamin B. And then what they do is they fortify it with some little iron and vitamin B. But why not eat the natural thing, right? So whole grain is good. Make sure, I marvel at the stuff that they sell in grocery stores now that looks like whole grain, but it's not whole grain. So you'll have these rolls, wheatish colored, and specks of wheat on it. And you read the first ingredient, enriched wheat flour. If your first ingredient is enriched wheat flour, this is not whole grain. Your first ingredient has to be whole grain, whole wheat. So be careful, read your food labels carefully. All right, I don't know if any of you saw this. I bought this so we can all celebrate International Women's Day. A few things. So this year, last year when they introduced the new, every now and then they'll sort of tweak the dietary guidelines a little bit. And this year they focused a lot on sugar and cholesterol. So I'm going to sort of briefly go over a few other things. First is alcohol. Now alcohol, remember, there's a fine line where alcohol actually helps you and it has good cardiac benefits. But then there's a fine line between helping you and hurting you. So the American Heart Association says, if you don't drink alcohol, please don't start drinking alcohol. But if you do drink alcohol, then 4 ounces of wine, 8 ounces of beer, and 1 to 1.5 ounces of spirit is what they recommend. 1 drink for women daily, 1 to 2 for men. If you can keep it at that level, then it's good. If you one day, if you start saying, oh, you know what, maybe a little more, it's going to help me, it's more. And you start doing that, and then you're damaging your liver. So alcohol does have its benefit. If you can control it, it's good. If you can't, then please don't drink it. Now, salt and sugar. So the focus has been a lot on sugar. Literally there's a lot of adults and children who drink a lot of soda, not just 1 or 2 cans, maybe 6, 7, 8 cans. The American Heart Association recommends 6 teaspoons of added sugar for women every day, and men get a little more, 9 teaspoons for men. I thought we should be sweeter and get 2 more, but men
When you
get more.
say recommended, that means you shouldn't go over it, not you
Right,
should
you
have.
not that, exactly. Yeah, not that you should have it, but don't go over it. And remember, it's 6, I said it once somewhere, and she said, what, 6 teaspoons? That's too much. I said, no, it's 6 teaspoons.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
enough. So, so that is the recommendation. Salt. So clearly, we Americans, we consume at least 3,400 to 3,500 milligrams of sodium every day. And the recommended requirement, the dosage, is 1 teaspoon, which is 2,300 milligrams. Now, if you have hypertension, if you have congestive heart disease, then it's probably even lower, but please discuss this with your doctor. Watch your salt. There's a lot of foods, you know, I look at every food label and I find salt and sugar in everything. Like I'd want something savory, and I see hot pepper, some snacks, and I see the sugar in them. And then there's so much salt.
Even cottage cheese has sugar.
I mean, it's, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's unbelievable. And cottage cheese has a lot of salt too. So just be careful. There are things that you sort of just consume every day and you don't even know how much. Pizza clearly, you know, has a lot of salt. Breads have a lot of salt. So just be careful, read your food label, and know exactly how much you're consuming. And then we talk, what am I missing here? We talked about alcohol, we talked about protein. Yeah. So the 2 big things. They didn't have bad things to say about coffee. Any coffee drinkers here?
Yes.
Not 4 or 5, that's a bit much. 1 or 2. They had good things to say about coffee. Now the biggest thing was this whole controversy about cholesterol, and first they said, you know, for the longest time I had this list of foods that you could not eat, eggs and shellfish and so on. And now they're saying it's not just the cholesterol that you consume, versus it's an interplay of your good fat, your bad fat, and your carbohydrates too. So your, you know, fat, there's a good, there's a bad, there's an ugly. So what is the ugly fat?
The LDL?
No, that's a part of the, that's a type of cholesterol in the body. But what is the fat that you consume that's really not good for you? That's mostly in desserts. Trans fat. So the trans fat is an absolute no-no. You know, it makes your dessert look very, very nice and appealing. It increases the shelf life of desserts, but you can't have trans fat. And be careful. If the content is 0 to 0.5 gram, most manufacturers will say 0% trans fat. So look at the ingredients, okay? The bad fat is your animal fat, beef, red meat, palm oil, palm oil, coconut oil. You know, there's been a lot of news about, you know, eating coconut oil, but be careful, that is saturated fat. I won't eat too much of it. And then you have your good fat, and the good fat is your plant fat. So it's your sunflower, canola oils, your monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. So if you can sort of replace your carbohydrate intake with a little good fat, that's not a bad thing. That will really help, that will actually help to bring your cholesterol down. So instead of eating 2-3 slices of bread in the morning, for instance, maybe you eat a few nuts for snack. That's not a bad thing, that's good fat. But then again, be careful, nuts have a lot of, I have a patient who, I said, you know, eat nuts, and he eats a big bowl of nuts. You know, and I bought him this little box from Home Goods, and I said, this is how much you should eat. And he's like, before I eat the actual serving or after? I said, this is your actual serving. So be careful, nuts are good, but be careful about how much you eat. So I think I have covered all topics in diet and nutrition. Feel free to ask me questions. Anyone with any questions?
I do.
So I hear conflicting stories actually about, in terms of dairy, in milk, right? Some people will say that skim milk, because you've removed all the fat, you're not really, your body's not absorbing the vitamins. What is your feeling on that?
Yeah, I've heard that too. But I think, see, in most everything, you have to weigh the pros and cons. So with skim milk, you're getting enough calcium, which is what you want to get from the milk. And that's really all you need. You don't want the extra fat in it. So I would go along with what the USDA is saying, and that is, consume skim milk from the soy milk. So just, so for those, for us women who are here, your calcium and vitamin D requirements, if you are premenopausal, it's mostly 1,000 milligram of calcium a day with 600 international units of vitamin D. And if you're post, then 1,200 milligram of calcium and 800 international units of vitamin D.
I was told by my doctor that it doesn't make any difference and to stop taking calcium.
To stop taking calcium?
Yep.
Again, it's your doctor knows you best, and if that is your doctor's recommendation, then you should follow it. But I do, if you're not taking enough calcium in diet, no yogurt, no milk, then I do recommend that you take some supplements.
I'm breastfeeding, so I'm staying away from dairy right now until the baby's a little older. So how can I replace that?
Like I said, almond milk, soy milk, all are fortified now.
How about lactose-free milk? Would that?
Yeah, the lactose-free milk, it's essentially for those who are lactose intolerant. And if you get some gastrointestinal symptoms when you drink milk, then you can try the lactose-free milk.
Okay, but it has all the vitamins in it, just
It
not
should,
the-
yes.
What about citruses like grapefruit juice and orange juice? They're
Very good.
yeah?
Vitamin C, your antioxidants, I really recommend those. Yeah.
It's really good. It
So
refreshes you.
there's been some buzz about antioxidants, and I'll tell you what I know about it. So they say that the process of oxidation produces free radicals in the body that is actually harmful to cells. Again, I have not, to be honest, read any studies that have proved this, but the antioxidants help prevent oxidation. So you have your vitamin C, your vitamin E, beta carotene. I don't recommend supplements, but if you want to incorporate some foods with antioxidants, your berries, oranges, grapefruit, and that's good.
Yeah, it really helps. I take it every day. One grapefruit. No fruits, I don't take fruit shots.
Only if you are on medications, you want to be a little careful with grapefruit because it's a cytochrome P450 inhibitor. So it won't help you metabolize some of the medications. You may want to discuss this with your doctor. And then the last thing, and this is really my favorite topic. So if you notice, I've written a low stress, LO. And my printing person called me and said, Dr. K, because I have this written even in my handouts for my weight loss program. He said, I think you have a typo in there. You didn't spell LO, it's LOW, you said LO. And I said, the LO is intentional.
Huh?
The LO is to bring attention to. Unless you acknowledge that you have stress, you're not going to address stress. And I have some patients tell me, oh, my stress level is low. And that may very well be, because the way we all perceive stress is very different. It could be the same stressor, and you have 5 people seated out there. And one person will scream, the other will say, well, I know this. And someone else may say something else. So it's how we perceive stress and how we react to it and how we deal with it. So the one thing I really, really recommend is meditation. So unlike the body, that has to be worked, you have to work your body. Your mind needs to be rested because your mind is constantly working. Your mind is working even when you're sleeping. So the way you rest your mind is by giving yourself 20 minutes of meditation. I usually prefer it at night. You want to do it in the morning, that's perfectly fine. So there's mindfulness meditation, there is transcendental meditation, and there's Qigong. Those are the 3 I know. I'm sure many of you may have done some more, but the mindfulness I use a person, John Kabat-Zinn. You know, it's good to learn the real mindfulness versus just doing some relaxation technique, because, and it's acquired. You can't learn it overnight. It takes you a few days to learn it. And then you start doing it. Now recently, in the New York Times, this was last week, because everyone, I had one patient come and tell me, you're a doctor, right? You're telling me to do meditation, you believe in that? I said, yeah, I believe in that. I absolutely believe in that. So the New York Times had an article. They studied 35 adults. And these were unemployed adults, so they had a lot of stress. And they split them into two. They taught one of them the real mindfulness, and they taught the other some sham relaxation technique. They did brain scans and inflammatory markers, and they found a big difference in the ones who were actually doing mindfulness meditation. So now we have a science. It's been reported in biological psychiatry. We have a science to what we do. So I do recommend that. Transcendental is, does anyone do transcendental meditation here? No. You've tried it?
Yes.
And it's, again, I haven't done it, but I think it's a chant.
Well, I mean, I don't per se practice it, but I've had somebody do sessions on me.
Okay.
Right, so, and it's pretty amazing,
Yes.
actually, yes.
It really works. If you know how to do, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a woman actually, at the YMCA, Dana Murphy, I don't know if anybody practices yoga with Dana, but I've been practicing with her for a very long time, and it is a dear friend of hers who actually lives in Iowa, and she does do like over the phone TM sessions. But you would be amazed at what she knows about you. She's never met you.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's definitely something to it.
So I believe it's,
Center in Summit, yeah.
yeah, there's one transcendental meditation
Oh,
right
okay.
here in
They've been
downtown
here for
Summit.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a chant. And it's not so much the meaning of the chant versus the fact that you're just chanting that sort of rests your mind. And the third is an ancient Asian art called Qigong, which is a combination of movement, respiration, and meditation. So whatever you choose to do, you want to do it for 20 minutes at night. So, what is the take-home message from today? You eat healthy. Think of my plate. Think of this picture when you eat. And that half your plate should be very colorful. 30 minutes of exercise. I'm sure you can have 30 minutes during the day. Now, the one thing I wanted to really mention about exercise is that exercise is very personal. So if someone is spinning or climbing mountains, you don't have to do that. If you want to just walk in the park on a sunny day, that's perfectly fine. You want to walk in your house for a half hour, that's perfectly fine. But get up and make it a formal part of your day. That is essential. And lastly, 20 minutes of meditation to rest your brain. These are 3 ADLs, and I hope you will follow them.